What would Jesus do? Bet you've never heard that before. I'll make a reference to the book of Matthew because it pertains to the esotericism that is in the book of John. And I want to combine this little lesson, an exoteric teaching, with an esoteric teaching, and see if maybe I could spin your brain a little bit. In chapter 5, Matthew, verse 13, Jesus makes a reference, "You are the salt of the earth," which has been interpreted a multitude of ways in various different churches over the years. But I want to talk to you something that most Christians will never bring up in their right mind. The first sacrament that we're taught about in Christianity generally is baptism, the immersion in water. Now, when you put salt in water, it dissolves into the water. It makes salt water. You know what I'm saying? It goes from being one substance on a level to a different substance. But what you don't necessarily know is what happens to the salt spiritually. Everything that is physical has a spiritual register. When the salt starts to dissolve in the water, spiritually what happens is the spirit of the salt flows upwards through the water in what we would consider an upward direction. The spirit of the salt reassimilates with the general spirit as it breaks down in the water. So the symbolism is that when you're baptized in water in the name of the Holy Spirit, that your ego rises up in what we would consider an upward direction, so that your body can be filled, or so that your being, your presence can be filled in with the Spirit of the Creator. So what would Jesus do if those things that he deemed sacred were being bastardized and turned into a profit? Well, I tell you what America would do is they would get the Labor Party together, you know, something that we kind of heard about is the unions back in the day, you know, and they would get all the working class people together and get them in a unanimous mentality. And then right when it was time to make a change in their country to make their work not be bastardized, what would happen is the higher ups in that organization would sell out to the baking industry, and it would continue to make this country a breeding ground for slaves. That's what America would do. But I didn't say that. What would Jesus do, right? Well, if we look in the second chapter of the book of John, in verse 13, it says, "And the Jews' Passover was at hand. Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves and the changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them out of the temple and the wait. So he makes a whip. He goes in the temple, sees some disrespectful shit going down, and makes a whip and starts whooping these motherfuckers' asses up out of the sacred site." So, if Jesus was in Standing Rock and he felt like this sacred site was being disrespected, he would make weapons and then make war on the people disrespecting it in the name of money. But that's not what we do in America. In America, we sell out to the highest bidder. In this case, the highest bidder was Citibank. In this case, the highest bidder was Donald F. and Trump. So what would Jesus do? Not what we're doing. What would America do? They would sell out. What's the significance of the salt? The significance of the salt is human beings that have allowed their ego to cancel out what they should do. Their spirit, their ego spirit, hasn't risen up and assimilated into the higher creator spirit and filled their body up with love. Do you know what I'm saying? Filled their being up with love. Because society has taught us day after day, time after time, to grasp onto that ego identity as though it was your life. To grasp on what you've been taught to be via telling you that the way that you naturally acted was bad, teaching what you have turned into as your life source, as your existence, as if you can't validate yourself, then what can you validate? You gotta be humble sometimes to take big steps, man. And you gotta sweep your ego to the side. Do you know why those motherfuckers weren't scared to go to Wounded Knee with their rifles and shit? Because they had allowed their ego to assimilate into the Great Spirit, and they had allowed the Creator Spirit, the ancestral spirit, to come over their beings. In the book of Samuel, when Saul hears how his peoples of his tribe are being disrespected, it says the Holy Spirit came upon him and he went off to make war with them. That's the type of shit the Holy Spirit does. That's the type of shit that the Creator comes through on. And if Jesus of Nazareth was in Standing Rock, he would be whooping ass right now, or trying. But everybody's on this bandwagon of self-preservation and taking the easy way out. And it's not going to be that easy. You know, like, most people that are available for the revolution, or that you would, are not ones that are ready for the revolution. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the way motherfuckers get up and go to work every single day, whether they like it or not, whether they hate it or not, whether they're feeling it or not, that's the type of mentality that you're going to have to survive a revolution in this country, on this planet. You're going to have to, sometimes you're going to have to go for days looking at the ground saying, fuck, am I making the right decision? Fuck, I don't want to be in this war anymore. But if you believe in that shit, you're going to get up and go. And if you don't believe in that shit, you're going to sell out from the gate. I'm not trying to question anybody's morals. I'm not trying to say how I would act in someone else's shoes, because I don't know. I'm not in those shoes. But I'm just saying that the I, even in me, has to dissipate to be able to take on the true intention of my family, of the general population. You know, what the government wants you to do is be fucked up about your personal life, to be fucked up about whether your old lady's cheating on you, or whether or not this or that, you know, the gossip, what do people think of me? You know, every single way they can angle it to make you think about your personal egoship and validation is a nail in your own coffin. It's a way to keep you on the lockdown. You know what I mean? One of the things that, you know, Nelson Mandela used to say in prison, he says, man, you can't dwell on what they're taking away from you. You know, don't trip on your home life, don't trip on that stuff, you know, just trip on the cause, the ultimate goal. Do you know what I mean? But how much humbling is the peoples that live in this country going to have to experience before they can come together on a unanimous tip, on a truly democratic tip? Yeah, there's little cliques and little small groups of people that are down like a motherfucker, but as a whole, people are scared, dude. People live scared. But you know what? Something that I've learned about people that are scared, or people that live scared, like this government acts so fucking scared of everything. Do you know, inherently, time and time again, for each scared person that I've ever met, you know, most people are scared, from my experience, when they know they're wrong. And if they know they're right, there's nothing that can scare them. You wonder why this government is so scared? Because they know they're wrong. But they also know if they keep you scared about losing your little precious ego with your Jordan shoes and your fucking Gucci socks, yeah, that's where we want them. Scared like us. I'm not trying to help or not help or sound prophetic or not prophetic. I'm just saying what's on my mind in this circumstance. And it doesn't make a whole lot of fucking shit because I got my own road to hoe. You know what I mean? I got my own family to worry about. I have my own ego to fight with. I don't got any business telling anybody else how to live. But I was just saying, man, here's some of the tools in the box. And if they're helpful to you, I hope so. And if not, whatever. It is what it is. I'm cheap.